Hi, it's me, Mary Jean Ziska, and it's after 7 p.m. I was planning on doing this video a whole lot earlier. I don't know if you can see. 7:07 p.m. It is the 23rd of June, 2015. It's Tuesday, and it's 84 degrees in my house. I actually had hoped to get this online, actually, earlier today, but I've had the worst experiences and people on the phone who, when I called up my mom, a website that I created when I was working with my mom to create businesses and websites. It took 2 years off my life, basically, to make sure I could help her. And in the process, we created different websites. For me, I created ATLC Prep. So that was a website for an etiquette school that we were going to start here in Naples, Florida. And I went online and it had disappeared. So since one of my other websites, mygingerbreadman.com, actually had been rerouted through an IP address, I actually called up my mom to find out if everything had been done. She said she hadn't tampered with any of the bills and everything should have been paid, everything should be fine. So then I contacted the company that I was working with for the actual website, and also after finding out for them that a bill wasn't paid, that I actually had to contact the domain registrar and try to reestablish that, which has been an immense, huge, big deal. Shouldn't have been, but the people that I've been talking to on the phone today, who were nothing like the mother that I was raised with, were pretty damn evil. And I don't know how much they're lying, cheating, and stealing from my family or from me still. But I know, of course, my baby blanket was stolen, diamond and pearl earrings were stolen, shoes have been stolen, sorority date function pictures have been stolen, and I'm having a feeling the evil person on the phone is the same one who not only stole identities, made sure she got a Sub-Zero refrigerator when they purposely broke my refrigerator so that someone would come up, fork up the funds so that the little girl could actually steal. This is how they make their money. This is how they live their lives. They're not men and women of integrity, honor, and courage. They're definitely not Christian in any way, shape, or form. And they are the most horrible people that I've ever had to deal with in my life. Today, being on the phone was just like being on the phone with the same bullies from 2007 who actually bullied me to not only tears and throwing up, to where I'd been abused enough to where I'd lost 30 pounds from over the course of this time period, and I had actually received not only bully cards, bully emails, but also letters and cards telling me that no one loved me, no one wanted me, that I should kill myself. Nice, huh? Nothing from my mother. They were all anonymous. They had an Ohio postmark, which is the only evil people I've met from Ohio, including a bully girl who trespassed over from Karen Kale, which you can find her name and information about her on www.mysearchforjustice.com, and a couple other people. But anyway, the people on the phone today, absolutely horrid. So if you pray with me, I know what my family was like, and I pray in the name and power of Jesus Christ, through his blood and his resurrection, for God to actually intervene and to make sure that whatever fax needs to be sent, whatever payment needs to be paid, that I get back my website and my information and all of my information and all of the things that they've broken, stolen, destroyed, and ruined for the last 15 years. This has been 15 years, the worst 15 years and experiences of my entire life, all because of really jealous, evil, con artist, criminal, horrid people. We're talking the low of the low. These aren't educated people who have MBAs who actually work on philanthropies and foundations. This is the scum of the earth that lie, cheat, and steal about everything. They don't have a decent, honorable bone in their body, and they have no problem. They're sociopaths. The person on the phone today actually bullied me to tears to where I was hyperventilating and thought I would throw up. The little brat put the phone down, called up and answered the phone, and then at the end said to whoever the person was she was talking to, "I love you too," and actually ended up talking to them about how she put little poopies in someone's toilet bowl to actually show them that a dog had pooped, I guess. I have no idea. I mean, we're talking total sociopath. Someone who could turn around after bullying someone and making them upset and crying to actually not caring one bit about what the damage they do to someone else's life. And these are the same evil people who have stolen my baby blanket, or who've broken into my house, who've lied, cheated, and stolen from our family for the last 15 years. And I pray through the name and power of Jesus Christ that they are bound. They are bound, their evil mouths are bound, so they will be able to never ever tell any more lies, any more deception, or any more manipulation through their evil mouths. I bind them in the name and power of Jesus Christ through his blood and his resurrection. I bind them on the phone. I bind them over the internet from doing any of their harm and destruction and their evil con artist plots and plans. I bind them, their evil hands tied, rendering them useless, unable to do harm. Also, with the mouth, I bind their mouths shut, unable to do any more harm. I bind their evil hands tied, rendering them unable to spread their lies, deception, manipulation. I bind their evil hands tied, rendering them unable to do their theft, their abuse, their physical abuse, their emotional abuse, their actual theft and crimes and criminal activity. I bind them from stealing businesses, from stealing personal information. I bind them from being in my mother's house. I bind them from ever coming near our family or our friends. I bind their legs tight, standing still, so they will be caught and punished according to the laws of God. For it is written, thou shalt not steal. And it is written that we are allowed to bind them through the name and power of Jesus Christ. For according to Luke, and I stand on his word and in the Bible, knowing that Jesus Christ gave us the ability to bind these evil people. But I bind their legs shut and standing still, so they will be caught by the laws of the United States of America and actually be held accountable by the laws of the United States of America, and most importantly, laws that are pronounced by God, our Father in heaven, that they will be caught and punished according to those laws and be held accountable for the damage that they've done and have to return everything that they've broken, destroyed, ruined, and stolen. Whether it's a 5-year-old little brat, because I've met 2 girls who've been the most evil. We're talking people, children that actually were born with not one redeeming quality. There was a dark-skinned, dark-haired little girl who actually I babysat at Naples Grand once. I have never seen such evil come out of this person's mouth, out of their actions. She stole $10 from her sister Olivia, wouldn't give it back at all until I actually told her that she'd been caught on videotape, because she could have been. She was caught on videotape through the arcade. And then, even then, she wanted to question how much evidence that I actually had. Because this is a person who is going at 6 years old, who is actually so calculated and so manipulative and so deceptive. She will grow up to be the most disgusting criminal person on the face of the earth. And one other person who had white blonde hair, freckles all over her face, and who actually every word out of her mouth was a complete and utter lie. At 6 years old, she stole a Christmas present that I was wearing, and I took off a khaki cashmere sweater that was a part of a sweater set my mother had bought me at Saks Fifth Avenue as a Christmas gift from my family. She stole that. She stole 10 Thomas the Train bubble makers, and she stole a group of index cards that I had created a treasure hunt to use at a family's household where I was once again babysitting through my mother's business, and those little brats needed to actually try to give whatever information and products that I had to the imposter girl who was trying to, I guess, impersonate me and trying to actually, the girl couldn't create a treasure hunt. It was a treasure hunt I created based on the Peter Pan story. So I'm thinking the same little girl who had me sign a Tinkerbell birthday card from one of my nieces, who actually lies, cheats, and steals. The same group of con artists who actually had me drive them into Palm Beach because they didn't know the law students my sister went to school with. They didn't know where my family actually lived. They don't know the history. They've been fishing for information for 15 years and gathering information so that they can lie, cheat, and steal from our family and our friends and destroy the real family. And it's absolutely horrible. It's the same people who actually have hurt me through guardianships, who have lied, cheated, and stolen from me, my family, and my friends. And I pray, and I ask you to pray with me today to actually hold them accountable. For it is written, love is patient, love is kind, love does not envy or boast. It isn't arrogant or rude. It does not insist on its own way. And at the end of it, it says, love never ends. And I will always love my real sister, Maura Ann Ziska, Madeline Marie Ziska, Marion Ziska, and Elwin Joseph Ziska. I will never believe the lies that are told about them or the damage that someone's tried to do using their name or their email address or the lies and destructions that they have caused in my life. These people have destroyed my life for 15 years, but I'm counting on God and Jesus Christ, who is my Savior, and I am praying that He actually will come in with supernatural powers, be able to actually not only bind evil, but actually be able to, according to Ephesians 3:20, be able to do more than more than I can ever hope, wish, dream, or imagine. And I stand on the Word of God today, knowing that in John 10:10, the devil, only the devil, came to steal, kill, and destroy. But Jesus Christ came that we might have life in abundance to the full till it overflows. And upon His word I stand, knowing that these evil people will not win at the end, because there will be a judgment. And though they don't believe in God, and they are not Christian, and they think that they've gotten away with anything that they can do as far as their lying, their cheating, their stealing, and their manipulation, one day they will be held accountable. If not by me, by the law, by God Himself. Someone will actually stand up for the righteous and make sure that they are held accountable. And the damage that they have done, they will have to repay. And all of the things that they've stolen, they will have to return. So anyway, this video wasn't supposed to all be about that. But it was supposed to be about continuing with what damage people can do based on greed. At www.fwweekly.com, which is the Fort Worth Weekly, 2013, the 4th of the 9th day for the 4th month, and the article is Grabbing the Purse. I don't know if you can see all of this. This video is about part 2, where I'll read page 2 and 3 of the article, and the article is Texas Guardianship Law Leaves the Elderly Open to Abuse from a Cozy System by Jeff Prince. So anyway, this is based on a woman's life. The article is based on Dorothy Luck, and I read the first page of the article. I thought actually that was all the article, but it even went on to more destruction that these people have done. So if you can look up the article and follow along with me, that would be great. Otherwise, I'll read it. At the beginning of page 2, it actually tries to enlist and say that there are decent, honorable people within guardianship, which I'm sure there are, but I haven't found any so far. I also haven't found any great people on the phone, and I haven't in the last 15 years have anyone that actually has filled the shoes of any of my best friends, or my best friends as my sisters, or my friends from Saudi Arabia, from Kappa Alpha Theta, from college, or from school in France. The people that I've had to endure, is a good word to put it, have been nothing but evil in so many ways. Their destruction has altered my life, and I don't know if I can actually put it back to the way it was supposed to have been. I don't want to get into it, but anyway. Okay, so let's see. They actually went on to say guardianships, as they're supposed to be in the law, they're supposed to be actually helping people who might be incapacitated, who actually can't make decisions for themselves. But, and this is where I'm going to start quoting, in recent years, however, numerous, where were we? In recent years, however, numerous Tarrant County residents have told Fort Worth Weekly about an overzealous system overseen by 2 probate judges, Judge King and Judge Pat Ferchill, F-E-R-C-H-I-L-L. Ferchill? Maybe is how you pronounce his name. Oh my goodness, these are some really evil guys. When I read the article, the Weekly first exposed the heavy-handed tactics used by Ferchill in a story about a Fort Worth girl named Katia, K-A-T-I-I, written as Saving Katia, July 2nd, 2008. In that case, the court removed a girl from her mother in a secret hearing outside of her mother's presence. A subsequent article highlighted the court's methods in other cases, which on May 19, 2010, rethinking guardianships. To me, I found nothing admirable about anything that's been helpful about the guardianship or the people that I've had in my life for the last 15 years have done nothing but lie, cheat, and steal for their own selfish greed. And they use a guardianship to actually subvert authority and be able to actually do their dastardly deeds and do their criminal activity, because someone who's under a guardianship, they're discounted. They're not worth anything. They don't matter. And the person on the phone would be prime example of a sociopath put in charge of someone's life and their finances, who would not care at all that they spent their finances financing their little parties or their drug or alcohol problems, or buying a new dress, or doing something selfish and greedy for themselves, or for the nanny that they're hoping their dad is screwing, or for anyone else that they actually decide that they want to actually have money to do any of their selfish, greedy, horrible people. Anyway, here goes on to speaking about more selfish, greedy, horrible people. The court picked, similar articles have appeared in newspapers across the country since then, including an Austin American Statesman piece earlier this year that described how an elderly woman, Sophie Paulos, spent 3 months and $100,000 on legal fees to prove her mental competence. Paulos, that's how I'm going to pronounce her name, prevailed, but told the newspaper afterward that she was humiliated and frustrated by her treatment. Which, of course, why wouldn't you be? You have someone who actually can make up a bunch of lies, who can interpret different results, who has... I was actually supposed to be talked to by a gentleman who actually was a gynecologist from New Jersey. He was actually supposed to actually decide whether or not I can actually pay my bills. No accounting actually whatsoever within his background. No degree in psychology, but a gynecologist. I actually think that was enlisted by the same crooks, because they probably got another nanny knocked up and they needed to fraudulently use a Medicaid card to actually make sure that whatever I always say, anyway, whatever the nanny or whoever they knocked up could actually have some kind of medical service, and they could find out more about the child, or have a gynecologist see them at free of expense if they use somebody else's name, their social security number, their address, and be able to lie, cheat, and steal with Medicaid fraud on top of mortgage fraud, on top of every other fraud that these people do. God, they're so evil. I can't wait till they stand in judgment. So utterly evil. Anyway, I'm concerned about people who have worked all their lives. Oh wait, that court, I skipped this part. That court picked on the wrong old woman. Paulos, whose son-in-law, former Texas Health and Human Service Commissioner Tom Seuhs, who vowed to seek guardianship reform through legislation. One of the lawmakers who listened in Republican Stephanie Kicks, a Republican who listened is Republican Stephanie Klick, K-L-I-C-K, a Republican from Fort Worth. Yay, Republicans! I'm concerned about people who have worked all their lives and then had their life savings eaten up by these procedures. Klick said, "We can do a better job." During this year's regular legislative session, she sponsored House Bill 2600, seeking to add protections for those being evaluated for guardianship. One proposal was to require referrals for guardianships to be made via sworn affidavit. Because in Texas, if you don't remember the first part, they can actually have a judge who just decides, hey, I decide you're incapacitated, so I'm going to take away your finances and take away your rights. Because as a judge, that's what he is allowed to do in Texas. They're allowed to do it based on, for me, they were actually allowed to baker me based on an email, which was completely fraudulent that I was suicidal. So the same type of changes need to be made as far as damaging someone's life. I could have an evil girl who was like the same evil girls who are the mean girls on the phone, who actually are jealous or selfish or evil, make up a bunch of lies, send a bunch of emails, and do whatever damage they want to do to my life. They could do that. They're the ones saying that I'm incapacitated and incompetent. They're the ones that actually enlisted a bankruptcy that I didn't want, that I never actually approved of, and that I never actually wanted in my life whatsoever. In fact, the person on the phone today was trying to say that I actually agreed to a bankruptcy, which is a complete and utter lie. I was bullied by an evil person who stood at my door with a police officer to sign a blank piece of paper, which is completely and actually fraudulent. Plus, it actually, there's 10 different points just actually voiding the bankruptcy from the bankruptcy code. But that's a whole nother situation. These people are corrupt. They do anything. They needed the bankruptcy to actually cover up the debt, the destruction, and the $65,000 that they stole off of a fraudulent mortgage, that they tried to use a fraudulent mortgage from 2004 or 2006 and 2007, sorry. And they actually, oh my God, they make up laws, they make up rules. This group of children and criminals have no accountability, and they actually do whatever they want, and someone needs to stop them. I'm hoping it's actually the proper authorities, the police, and God himself actually comes down and makes sure that they're stopped. Because these are evil, selfish, greedy little brats. And I apologize. I feel sorry for them, because in Joyce Meyers, it's actually, she quotes a lot of times that hurting people have to hurt people. So these people must have had horrible childhoods and been neglected and abused. I'm not sure if they were abused sexually or just they had to have learned to be abusive bullies by probably abusive bullies being in their lives. But they actually have no more, they must be jealous of my family, our ability to create businesses, definitely of my mom, who's an amazing woman. The mother, Marian Ziska, who raised me in Ras Tanura, Saudi Arabia, actually, I can never say enough amazing things about her and about how much she made sure that we were loved, we were blessed, and had so many opportunities in our life. She took me to Mount Everest when I was 13 years old. And I was on Mount Kenya Safari Club, and I was at treetops when I was 12 years old. She made sure that I actually got to see the Egyptian pyramids, and that I actually was raised with Christian values and was raised surrounded by people who were honest and had integrity. We didn't have to lock our doors in our cars because we were raised in Ras Tanura, Saudi Arabia. Yay, Aramco! I met some people who actually claimed that they're from Aramco, but then they were mostly from New York, and I've really honestly found no redeeming people who actually, I found a lot of crooks from New York instead of redeeming people. I can't say not one person. I think I found 2 people who actually, who were decent from New York, but other than that, wow. Anyway, through Aramco, A-R-A-M-C-O, we actually got to meet the most amazing people that were on the face of the planet. And my mother, who actually made the best, was a Girl Scout camp person. She went on camping trips with us, and she made us pancakes. She was an amazing woman who would never have bullied me, never lied, cheated, and stolen from me, and was nothing like the person on the phone today. And nothing like the people who've lied, cheated, stolen, and bullied, and hurt and harmed me immensely for the last 15 years, or at least since what, 2007? For at least since the Iranian heroin drug dealer was what? Oh my God, horrible people. I can go on and on about the horrible people, but let's worry about Dorothy Luck, if we can continue her story, because she went through some horrible people. Oh my goodness. Anyway, she had a couple great people on her side, and I would love to be in contact with the person, the Republican, Stephanie Klick, K-L-I-C-K, who was a Republican from Fort Worth. During the year's regular legislative session, she sponsored House Bill 2600, seeking to add protections for those being evaluated for guardianship. One proposal was to require referrals for guardianships to be made via sworn affidavits. The process for initiating guardianship needs to be tightened up, she said. Someone who files something with the court needs a more formal affidavit rather than an informational letter that's not sworn. People have to be accountable for what they're accusing people of doing. They have to be actually accountable if they're going to take away someone's rights, and they have to have proof. I think it's ridiculous that I actually submitted to Judge Brody a whole year's worth of banking documents, and we're still trying to debate whether I can pay my bills, which everything was paid on time and online until someone actually stole the money that was supposed to be coming to me and actually opened up a fraudulent bank account and then used that money for their own resources. The law says they're supposed to use the least restrictive. This, I think, is important. The law says they're supposed to use the least restrictive means in handling these matters, and I'm not sure that that's the approach that is always utilized. That's also enlisted within the Florida statute 744, so you can look that up. Least restrictive. You're supposed to give someone their rights. If they can prove that they can do something on their own, they're supposed to be able to do it on their own. That's bottom line. You can't just arbitrarily take away someone's rights. We live in America, and the laws that were created are actually to protect the American citizens and the people that actually live here and abide by the rules and abide by the laws, not protect the crooks who actually use them to their own advantage. Houston-based advocate Michael Easton attended a hearing on April 15th in the Texas Capitol on Click's bill. Several judges testified against proposed reforms, he said. Click introduced a wonderful piece of legislation that would add transparency. That's what we need. Transparency. Change the laws so everything is transparent. You want to actually have an open court? You want to be able to actually have people on your side who actually can stand up for you. You want to be able to actually have everything documented. You want to be able to hold the judges and the lawyers accountable for the damage, and definitely hold the guardians and limited guardians accountable for everything that they do, everything that they say. Maybe there'll be less guardians, but you know what? They'll actually be honest people who actually aren't afraid of standing up and saying what they do because they actually follow laws and they actually do what's right and they actually want to help people. And so far, we haven't found anyone who fits in that criteria. Oh, goodness gracious. Click introduced a wonderful piece of legislation and went that. Do you think they want to repair the system? This is when he's talking about the judges, which they don't. They're happy with the way it is, Easton said. Right now, there is no oversight, and they can do whatever they want. Which, if you're not honest and you actually want to be able to commit crimes, or you want to be able to take finances or money based on, later in the article it actually talks about how much the different campaign contributions are towards different people, toward different judges in Texas, and what those contributions are actually by the lawyers and the judges that don't want to change the laws. Kind of interesting, isn't it? When it's a big circular kind of situation that actually keeps the criminals working with the crooked people who actually keep profiting off of their same diabolical and criminal activities. Click's bill didn't make it out of committee this year, but that she plans to push for similar reforms during the next legislative season. I think this article was 2013, if I remember correctly, 2013. So I'm not sure of the update on the actual bill. But if anyone, why don't we start a new actual petition? Start signing it. Get everyone that you know who actually wants to make sure that justice is done, and let's get these bill and let's get something started within changing laws to make sure that criminals, whether they're guardians or judges or lawyers, are actually stopped from abusing a system that was actually enlisted to help people and not hurt people. Click's bill didn't make it. Her bill had backing from influential groups such as AARP and Conservative Coalition Research Institute, a Texas-based think tank that advocates for individual liberties and limited government. I actually tried contacting the Thomas More Society to work on my behalf to make sure that guardians and limited guardians were held accountable, and that if a guardianship, whether the guardianship department or someone else needs to be held accountable, that the damage that they've done, not only to me, but I'm sure there's a huge lawsuit in there, damage that they've done to other people as well, is actually being made known, and that they actually are being held accountable. Whether it's through the pain and suffering, whether it's through a lawsuit that needs to make sure that they follow the laws, whether it's through changing laws. But I received an email back. It didn't seem right. So hopefully, hey, Thomas More Society, you work with Christian organizations. I saw you on CBS, Christian Broadcasting Network, when one of the gentlemen was actually doing an interview, and I thought that was quite a God intervention, that actually could be someone who could stand up on my side. I also saw different commercials where I don't smoke pot and I don't like marijuana, but I know there's a family that actually has a very powerful law firm here in Naples, Florida. I don't know if they're based out of Orlando or Naples, but they actually have tried changing laws in the past. So hopefully, what was the name of that company? I'll look it up and I'll tell you later. Anyway, hopefully they'll contact me back. I've tried contacting them through the website, or even tried by calling, but if I'm getting crooks on the phone, they're not going to actually want me to contact the correct lawyers, or the correct Department of Justice, or anyone that can actually work on my behalf to make sure that the corruption is stopped. So anyway, his quote said, I had people coming from all over the state. Oh, she did, actually. She said, this is Click, Stephanie Click. I had people coming from all over the state who testified on the bill and thought it was a needed reform, she said. Probate judges have expressed concerns that requiring affidavits might discourage people from reporting cases where people need to be placed under guardianship, leaving vulnerable people at risk. Meanwhile, the courts can hold secret hearings and replace family members as guardians without giving them a chance to defend themselves. And in this matter, they're actually just doing whatever they want. When defendants try to appeal decisions, judges can require that they put up an expensive bonds beforehand, effectively pricing people out of the ability to seek justice. Trying to overturn a probate judge's decision can lead to a confusing maze of hearings, which I found it confusing. I'm meeting with Judge Brody. I'm supposed to be meeting with Judge Murphy, with Judge Kirby, with a ton of the different judges. I think there's been different hearings with every single one of the judges in Naples, Florida. Nothing's been done properly or with my benefit or my interest at heart. Anyway, trying to overturn a probate judge's decision can lead to a confusing maze of hearings, each step freighted with legal fees charged to the defendant or to the taxpayers. The Texas Probate Code allows something most states don't, court-initiated guardianships, which is what I mentioned before, which is absolutely horrible. I hope they change that really soon. And then it goes on to say all guardianships require the judge to consider less restrictive alternatives, which I don't think the judges really care. Once the judge has made a decision, do any of them actually look in to find out what's going on? Does anyone actually check to see? Judge Brody didn't check to see all the damage that had been done by my life by enlisting Marion Gregory as a limited guardian. For only 2 months, she was able to actually do everything wrong. Critics complain of a closed, self-sustaining, incestuous system, which I think is an amazing quote, and it applies to Naples, Florida, as well as Texas. Judges appoint attorneys to judges appoint attorneys to cases at rates that can approach $300 to $500 to $400 an hour. Guardians and attorneys, in turn, give money to judges by way of campaign contributions. Pretty interesting. Like I said, it's that little circle. It's not like the Fockers, the circle of trust. It's a circle of corruption. Attorneys who ask for anonymity explain the system this way. Judges cater to attorneys who donate to judges' campaigns. Judges can earn high salaries with good benefits and pensions. And those who aren't attorney-friendly might soon be facing a well-financed challenger in the next election. Tarrant County probate judges earn $158,000 a year in salary, plus health benefits and a pension. I think this little circle of trust, it's interesting. There was an article written by, I mentioned it before in an email that I sent to Jacob Carpenter at the Naples Daily News. He actually wrote an article about Judge Brody, who gave a guardianship to a lawyer, isn't that interesting, here in Naples, Florida, who actually zip-tied his daughter's arm shut as a form of punishment. Now, I'm not saying if she was influenced by that lawyer or not, but I think it's pretty funny because I know anyone in their right mind would not give a guardianship. If you took someone off the street and actually said, you know what, this man took his daughter, zip-tied her arm shut as a form of punishment, would not actually give full guardianship to that person, saying that they were well within their rights for discipline, or they didn't consider it abuse, or that they actually, parental privilege granted them that ability to actually, I don't know, do corporal punishment on a child. It's ridiculous. But I think if someone was corrupt or was actually being influenced by, say, contributions, or by actually having influential people, or actually, as the system seems to be promoting the same guardians with the same lawyers, with the same judgments, with the same finances, with the same profit margin at the end. Anyway, in 2010, King listed almost $30,000 in contributions, even though he had no opponent in that year's election. Much of the money came from the law firms and attorneys who benefit financially from being appointed to such cases. Pretty interesting. They get appointed to the cases. Unbelievable. That's why transparency and laws need to be changed. So please contact me, www.mysearchforjustice.com, so we can make a difference in the impact and make sure I'm not one of the normal people that actually have a limited guardian or a guardian. And so I have an ability to stand up for my rights. And even some of these people, but a lot of people who are 85 years old, who don't have the finances, who actually are being taken to the cleaners by guardians and by corrupt lawyers or by corrupt guardians or by corrupt judges even, with the ability to take away their homes, their finances, to be able to actually do anything to promote their corruption and promote their finances instead of looking for the welfare of the person that they are supposed to be upholding laws. So transparency would make a huge difference. Please, dear God, help. Anyway, let's see. Oh, and it goes on to say, not only was it $30,000 in contribution, even though he had no opponent in that year's election, much of the money came from law firms and attorneys who benefit financially from being appointed to such cases. King is up for election again in 2014. I hope to God he never became a judge again. It's time for that corruption to actually end, because it is written in the Bible, the devil came to steal, kill, and destroy, but Jesus Christ came that we might have life in abundance to the full till it overflows, not to go through hell because of a corrupt judge, a corrupt lawyer, a corrupt system. This is the last and final page. It actually goes on to say, if you think it's difficult to take control of somebody's possessions and income, you've never seen a Tarrant County probate court at work. Before Luck's husband died, he set up a trust that would provide for his wife as long as she lived. After she died, the trust properties would go to his brother's children. The trust included property and gas wells whose revenues were shared by Luck and the relatives. Dorothy Luck sold some of the land belonging to the trust, but did not return the proceeds to the trust, causing her relatives to demand an accounting. Luck felt that she had no right to do so. She said that the trust was established for her use until her death, and relatives are trying to preserve as much of it as possible for themselves. Interesting. Oh, goodness. It's the greed and corruption. I wish these people had been actually born with money and it wasn't new money, and they actually, I don't know, like Lauren Bush Lauren, worked on foundations or philanthropies, actually knew money comes and goes, but you actually have a responsibility to do with it something that actually leaves a great legacy, and that it all belongs to God. It's not theirs in the end, but it actually is given to you on behalf because God wants you to do something with it, not because Oh my goodness, I don't want to get into that. But anyway, that's just my thoughts. The 2000 lawsuit filed against Luck eventually led to a deposition on September 8th, 2010. It goes through the whole deposition, and then it goes through actually talking more about this person, Bacchus, B-A-K-U-T-I-S. The cantankerous woman, oh, she was brought in front of, I guess I better read that. The 2008 lawsuit filed against Luck eventually led to a deposition on September 8th, 2010. Luck wasn't happy about having to drive the short distance to Shannon Gracie Law Firm to answer questions from strangers about her life and her finances, which they can be interpreted in a variety of ways, which I found. You give a normal answer and they can actually make it into something absolutely horrible. I was asked, I think in 2011, if I could cook, if I could provide for myself and make sure that I could make my meals. And I said, yeah, I like actually making spaghetti sauce, which then of course was, they put that that I only had a limited capacity to actually provide meals for myself, because I mentioned one thing that I can cook. I've got tons of different cookbooks. I provide myself with very nice meals if I have the finances to do so. And it's absolutely amazing how interpretations, and that's why I have the audio tape from 2011, which was the start of an actual evaluation, why I wanted to do 3 independent evaluations for myself with people who aren't within that little system and being paid by the lawyers. And actually being contacted through the lawyers and through the judges and being paid by them for their services. I think that's a little corrupt on behalf of the court system. Independent evaluations should be done, and a person should actually be allowed to do independent evaluations I could do them from all over the whole world. I actually could find a psychology department located at Harvard or located in Washington or located anywhere else and actually have an actual mental evaluation done, like I did in another video, and have different questions asked from a person who's not being paid by the lawyer or connected to the lawyer in any way, shape, or form, who is not being influenced by a judge who actually gives the cases to the lawyers, who actually then is actually working with the guardians to actually make sure that finances and different things are still helping their campaigns and still helping the whole system, which is supposed to be just. But in Naples, Florida, like I mentioned before, the only place in the entire world I've lived where it is fraught with corruption and criminals are allowed and promoted to be able to bully, to lie, to cheat, and to steal from innocent people and to ruin their lives. And I think it's absolutely, utterly horrible. Anyway. Okay, it actually moves on to say the cantankerous woman butted heads with B-A-K-U-T-I-S and told the attorney that God was going to get him, but you're not allowed to do that either, because they might think that that's a threat, and you're not allowed to actually threaten someone or threaten yourself with any kind of off-colored comments in any way, shape, or form. Which, of course, this 89-year-old woman or 85-year-old woman had no notion that every single word that she actually said was going to be judged and going to be used against her. Not for her, but used against her, so that they could steal her finances and actually claim her incompetent. Bacchus, B-A-K-U-T-I-S, earns his living as a probate attorney. Get that. How shocking is that? And knows the system inside and out. He threatened to initiate guardianship proceedings against Luck. She shrugged. She had no idea what he was talking about. She had no idea how much damage this person with a little bit of authority could actually do to someone's life. The thing is, these lawyers, these judges, these guardians, they don't realize one day they're going to be that same age, and one day the same things that they've done to harm people's lives and to steal from people could actually happen to them. But most of them are sociopaths who really don't care. They care for the moment. They care about the finances they have to live and to party and to do their corrupt activities. On September 10th, 2010, Monica Cooper filled out a referral form suggesting that Luck be considered for guardianship. The primary reason, get this, cannot manage financial matters. Did the guy actually ask about that? Did he actually go into finding out all of the resources and every single accounting? Was this person even qualified to actually do anything against her because of her finances or her accounting? King initiated the guardianship, that's the corrupt judge again, the guardianship process by appointing Griffith, a guardian ad litem, a person who serves as court investigator. On the appointment form, King referred to Luck as incapacitated, even though doctors hadn't yet examined her. Then he appointed Cooper's law partner, Jamison, to represent Locke. Goes on to say, King also issued a temporary restraining order to deny Locke access to her bank accounts. After the hearing, Locke went to the Edward Jones investment firm to withdraw some of the money to pay for a remodeling job that was underway at her house. She said Cooper appeared from out of nowhere and threatened to call the police. Monica came barreling into the office. It was a total surprise, Lux said. I don't know how she knew I was there. What was she doing, following me around? She said, you put that money back or I'm calling the police and have you put in jail. This is the woman who's talking to someone about putting someone in jail for her own finances. Monica came barreling, King appointed Steve Cattens as Luck's money manager. Catton was a player in a previous weekly article that described how Fertelli's court took over the bank account of an elderly woman named Mary. In the article, In Whose Best Interest, September 8, 2010. The process was similar to what happened in Luck's case. The concerned party was someone with close ties to the law firm of the attorney appointed to handle the guardianship and the elderly woman's money. In the 2010 case, Mary's court-appointed attorney said the probate court didn't seek out guardianship clients but only responded when social workers reported concerns. Of course, the social workers are actually then in cahoots, and I'm not trying to make it into a conspiracy, but if they're actually working with different people so that they can get different jobs, they can actually give work to the lawyers. I've had numerous people. One person actually, the moment I asked them about if they worked within guardianship law, he wanted to know if I had any money. Now that is pure and utter greed. Not asking about the case, not asking about justice, not asking about anything to do with the law, not even asking if I was incapacitated, incompetent, or if I just needed a guardian. They wanted to know about the finances that were actually available for the suit and for what could be used. When it goes on in here, it's unbelievable in this article. Oh my goodness. So anyway, in that 2010 case, Mary's court-appointed attorney said the probate court didn't seek out guardianship clients, but only responded when social workers reported concerns. However, the person who reported concerns about Mary's welfare was Catton. Wasn't that familiar? Whose the law firm specializes in these cases. At the time, Catton was board president of Guardianship Services, a group that works closely with the Tarrant County probate courts. He wanted Mary's money parked at Wells Fargo Bank, one of the Catton's Fellowship Guardianship Service board members. At the time was Kathy Christoffel, Christoffel, senior vice president at Wells Fargo. I personally love Wells Fargo here, but I guess in Texas it seems like it's pretty much corrupt, and whoever runs that bank is probably in cahoots with the same system. One of Catton's law firm employees, Kim Olmedo, was a former president and board member of Adult Protective Services. That person, Kim, typed up an Adult Protective Services report online and expressed concerns about Mary. Before long, a guardianship case was in the works, incited by attorneys with legal costs deducted from Mary's estate. In Luck's case, King changed focus from hearing the lost case to determine whether Luck was mentally competent. He ordered a medical evaluation, and Luck visited 2 doctors at the University of North Texas Health Service Center. Fees were paid, again, by Luck's estate. The physician's certificate of medical examination defines an incapacitated person as an adult who is unable to provide food, clothing, or shelter for himself or herself, or to care for the individual's own physical health, or to manage the individual's own financial affairs, which is pretty similar in Florida as well. which of course I can do all of that, not being given back my rights. It was a limited guardianship where Patrick Weber was supposed to actually help defend lawsuits, and the lawsuit he was supposed to help defend in 2006, 2007 was a fraudulent mortgage by David J. Stern and signed by Matthew Cale with a big loopy letter by, could be the same last name as the person who bullied the crap out of me in my own complex. Check out the website www.mysearchforjustice.com. Let's see, the case could have ended right there. The King and the attorney had other ideas. In November 2010, Luck visited a doctor of her choosing, Dr. Mary Brett at the University of Texas Southwest Medical Center in Dallas. The doctor found no incapacitation. In January 2011, however, Moss revised her report after the court investigator requested a clarification. Moss's amended report diagnosed Luck with, quote, mild cognitive impairment and, quote, partial incapacity. Luck needed supervision for complex financial decisions, quote unquote, but for all other decisions can be made by Mrs. Luck independently, including the rights to handle her own legal affairs, Moss wrote. Luck's court-appointed attorney, Jameson, a member of the UNT Health Science Center Foundation Board. After Moss changed her report, Griffith proposed a guardianship arrangement that would remove most of Luck's rights and could even force her out of her home and into an institution. Griffith is a Fort Worth attorney who focuses his practice on probate and guardianship issues. A hearing was held on February 8, 2011, and Griffith questioned Luck under oath. Luck was plain-spoken as usual. What is your understanding of what this hearing is about? Griffith asked. To take over my life, more or less, Luck said. To have someone, a guardian, appointed to tell me how to spend my money and how to live. Attorneys then spent hours questioning and cross-examining Luck about her finances and her medical evaluation. Griffith urged King to initiate a guardianship case. Jameson said it was unnecessary, citing Moss's ambiguous medical evaluation. I think that when she talks about mild cognitive impairment, that it does not rise to the level of a need for a guardian, she said. Jameson also expressed concern over Moss changing Luck's diagnosis after being contacted by Griffith. That's pretty interesting, don't you think? I assume because Mr. Griffith realized his physician certificate exam was not good enough to get him where he needed to be in this case that he went back to Dr. Moss. So we're talking about not only adding crooked lawyers, crooked judges, crooked guardians, but also crooked medical evaluation or medical doctors. And it's repulsive. Doctors actually take an oath. They're not supposed to do harm to individuals. They're actually supposed to uphold. I mean, it's unbelievable. The absolute dismissal of actually an oath that a medical doctor would take or a lawyer would take. Unbelievable. You can look up even in the Florida bar as far as the ethics and the ethics. I printed it out. There's a huge big, let's see if I have it right here where I can actually show you. There's a huge document. I printed it out. It's all about the ethics that are enlisted that need to be actually used from the Florida bar. Can you see that? Florida bar ethics, lawyer ethics, professional conduct. And I'm sure the same, look at this. This is pages upon pages upon pages. Of course there are a couple copies, but I actually, because I didn't think I'd have to actually send copies of Florida ethics to the lawyers or to the judges. But maybe I do. Who knows? People must forget that they actually take oaths to uphold laws. They actually are instilled with positions by the people. They're voted by the people to become judges. By the communities that they're supposed to, and the police, the sheriff, everyone's supposed to actually be working with the society to make it better for people. Oh my goodness. Anyway, still in May, let's see. Still in May 2011, King ruled in a closed hearing, again, so that there's no witnesses or evidence, and I'm sure they don't have it on record or on tape, closed hearing, that Luck was incapacitated. He appointed Frost Bank as guardian of her estate and set aside an allowance for Luck to cover her living expenses. Frost Bank's vice president is John Sands, a guardianship service board member. Pretty interesting how the plot thickens, isn't it? Someone should do a Lifetime movie about this poor woman and the corruption about it, because I'm living it right now and I hate every minute of it, and she's had to live it already. But she had the finances to fight it, and she actually had resources, and I think she had some people on her side, which I'm hoping this video will actually get on the internet and help me, or I can send it to lawyers who will actually help make sure that justice is actually accomplished and that no more damage, no more abuse is done to Mary Jean Ziska. Mary Jean Ziska. Let's see. Luck tried to appeal the decision. Jameson filed an appeal but didn't submit the required $175 fee in September of 2011. The appeal was dismissed for non-payment of the fee. You can be minding your own business and somebody can knock on your door and say, change your life forever, and you can't appeal? Ring said, that is what happened in the Luck case. Luck's profit and loss statement soon showed more than $125,000 spent on attorney fees. Luck went to the courthouse and filed a form to contest her guardianship case. She wanted her rights restored and her case overturned. King again assigned Griffith a guardian ad litem. Luck hired Louisville attorney Virginia Hammerville to represent her, but King didn't recognize her as an attorney of record. While Luck was fighting to overturn the case, King allowed Luck's guardian and appointed guardians, he appointed of course, right, to settle the lawsuit with her relatives. Her bank account became several $100,000 lighter. It appears the guardianship was pursued to get this settlement without her input, Ring said. The ad litem attorney and banks all came together and settled the lawsuit on her behalf. I bet she wasn't even allowed in the courthouse. When I tried to actually speak up in June 5th, when I was trying to actually give information to my lawyer, Larry Pevacek, about the bankruptcy that was fraudulently issued, about the bank account that was fraudulently established, about the finances that were actually stolen, about me having to actually eat crackers by myself on Easter of 2015 because food stamp money wouldn't come through until the 6th of April, and then Easter this last year was on the 5th of April. It is unbelievable the damage that these people have been allowed to do in my life, and I'm the real Mary Jean Ziska, and I'm hoping and praying that someone sees this and someone actually stands up for justice. It's been 15 years of hell. I've hated every minute of the people and experiences I've had to go through where people have been able to lie, cheat, steal, and bully. Today was another example of a bunch of bullies on the phone, and I pray to God that their lives are bound, made unable to do harm. Oh my goodness, let's see. But you can't actually say that you wish anything bad upon them. The most you can actually say is that you bind them through Jesus Christ, because then they'll switch that around and think that you're trying to, I don't know, that when somebody's actually bullying you to tears and to throwing up, when someone's actually abusing you verbally or emotionally, that they're actually, is unbelievable. And you're supposed to shut up, sit down, and be a good girl, is what I was told. I put that on another video. Because the guardian at that point in time told me he could do anything with my finances, with my life, and with my living place, my condo, my habitat, my home. Good God. Okay, let's read the rest of this. Hammerville got involved after being contacted by Ring. Hammerville is helping Luck to try to get the guardianship revoked and her rights restored. It looks like there had been a lot of overreacting in the case, Hammerville said. The medical records and factual records didn't support a guardianship, and the guardianship that had been granted had taken away all of her rights to contract and to make any financial decisions. Hammerville was stunned at the bottom line. It cost her $500,000 in attorney's fees to go through this process. Can you believe that? And who, actually the attorneys, made the profit? The settlement agreement put Luck's assets into a trust managed by the court-appointed Frost Bank. The only asset not included in the trust is Luck's house. Last spring, Luck visited a neurosurgeon who evaluated her competency. Someone actually wanted me to do that for a limited guardianship to see if I could pay my bills. Unbelievable.